April 30, 1943. Near the Spanish coast, a local fisherman saw a body in the water. He was wearing a life jacket, a British uniform, and had a case chained to him. It was too late to help, so the man loaded him into his small boat and dragged him to the shore. He thought about handing him over to the Spanish police and keeping some trophies. But he did not even suspect that he had launched an operation codenamed Mincemeat. On one hand, this is a story about one of the most effective disinformation campaigns during the war. On the other hand, about a dead man who changed the course of history. Hitler's forces in 1943 actively continued the occupation of Europe. The Allies needed a secure foothold to strengthen their positions. Such a place was the Italian island of Sicily. Its control would allow Allied ships to move freely in the right directions. But attacking Sicily openly was very dangerous. Massing a large number of troops and equipment in the region would have attracted enemies' attention. The landing on the island was planned to be carried out quickly and secretly. Therefore, British MI5 and MI6 were involved in the planning of the operation. The main task was to misinform the Germans about the plans, to provide them with information so that Hitler would think that an attack on Greece and Sardinia was planned.
In 1943, the Allied armies were preparing to enter southern Europe. Everyone knew the offensive would take place, but didn't know where. Churchill even said everyone, except for the last fool, suspects it will be Sicily.
This is Ian Fleming, the creator of James Bond. During the war, he was a naval intelligence officer. But most importantly, he wrote a list of more than 50 ways to misinform the enemy. Among the items was one described as not very pleasant. The idea was to plant the dead body of a soldier with documents, supposedly of the highest rank, under the enemy's nose. This should help mislead the enemy about the real plans. The idea had long been forgotten until the need arose to land in Sicily. Then two MI5 agents came into play, Charles Cholmondeley and Ewan Montagu. They used the idea with the corpse and improved it somewhat.
Charles always said, "My name is Cholmondeley," pronouncing it syllable by syllable. Charles Cholmondeley. He was always smiling and cheerful, as if his life was one big adventure. Ewan Montagu was magnificent, and also incredibly tall. When he began to walk towards you, the step was so big that first you saw his leg, and only then his head. In his work, he wanted all to happen at once, and this was one of the secrets of his success.
Together they came up with a plan that would later be called Mincemeat, which literally means minced meat. The legend was that a plane crashed over the sea. A crew member responsible for transporting secret documents falls into the sea but does not survive. His body is washed ashore, where it is picked up by Abwehr agents in Spain, German intelligence service. They open the documents and learn that the attack will not be on Sicily. Then the enemy gathers its forces to other points, and the Allies calmly capture the island. There was a problem: where to find the corpse of a drowned man. One might think, it's World War II, millions of bodies, but the agents calculated everything down to the details. The corpse had to meet all the parameters of a fake plane crash and, of course, with the cause of death, drowning.
The most suitable was the body recovered from water. The injuries on the body also had to correspond to those in a plane crash. According to legend, the first injuries occurred in the air, and fatal, in water.
The search for a suitable body lasted for about a month, until a dead tramp fell into the hands of pathologists 34-year-old Glyn Vermichael. He tasted rat poison and died. Not an easy death. The chemical reaction between the substance and the acid in the stomach caused a painful death, filling the lungs with fluid. This resembled drowning. So, the homeless man was placed in a special freezer, and they began creating a new life for him to cleverly deceive the Abwehr agents in Spain.
The reason why Spain was chosen is very specific. In the war, Spain was neutral, but we know from various intelligence data that it was full of German spies who collected a wide variety of information.
Thus, the former homeless man turned into a captain in the Royal British Marines, William Bill Martin. They created a fake life for him, detailed down to the smallest aspects. He was a Roman Catholic, had a habit of smoking, and was a bit forgetful. Fake receipts revealed the bank's debt. They dressed him in a military uniform and put tickets, letters from relatives, and his beloved in his pocket. They added a photo. According to legend, her name was Pam. In fact, she was an employee of MI5, Nancy Jean Lee. All this was done to prevent the Germans from questioning if the soldier was fake. The main bait was secret correspondence and documents on the Allies' summer campaign plans for the Mediterranean theater.
We were asked who can provide personal photos for use. I gave this one of mine. It was made near the Thames.
After months of work, Montagu and Chamley decided it was time to put the body into the water. Having placed the newly minted captain in a special coffin with dry ice, on the night of April 19, 1943, the agents went out into the open waters on the submarine, Seraph. By April 30th, they were near the shores of Spain. About a mile from the shore, they threw the body overboard, attaching a briefcase with documents to his belt. On the same day, fishermen found the body.
Antonio Rey Maria, the fisherman who found the body, was my good friend. He told me that in the morning, he saw a soldier in the water. He loaded him onto the boat, and sailed with him to the shore. On the way to land, he recalled seeing bruises on his face, either from a lifeboat or from a plane crash. He thought the body was probably thrown out the window when the plane hit the water.
The Spanish authorities handed the body over to the Abwehr. They began their own examination. After a few days, they concluded that the man had drowned. In his pockets, they found documents of William Bill Martin. Everything went as planned. The Germans believed it so much that they even listed his name in the British Army's casualty list. It has become clear, the Abwehr swallowed the bait. To further pique the Germans' interest in the body, the British sent a telegram to Madrid. It stated secret documents had been lost in a plane crash. It requested they be returned to Britain immediately and with secrecy. Of course, the Abwehr could not miss such information. Karl Erich Kalenthal, one of Hitler's most trusted liaisons in Spain, got down to business. He knew the Spaniards had found the documents and was able to negotiate with them to receive papers for a few hours for review.
Kalenthal was the leader of the Abwehr in Spain. He organized the gathered information and sent it to Berlin. We know this as at that time Bletchley Park received information from him and passed on new information to him.
German agents opened all the envelopes and rephotographed everything to the smallest detail. Among the most important was fake correspondence between military officials who discussed plans to attack Greece and Sardinia. The data was transmitted to Berlin. There, they began to devise a plan for meeting the attacks. After copying the documentation, it was carefully handed back to the Spaniards with a message that nothing suspicious had been found.
All the letters were well sealed, and this is what they did. If you take an old envelope and bend it like this, then its upper part will be much longer than the lower one. So, if you insert double prongs there, you can twist it and retrieve the letters from the envelope. It will be difficult to do, and even harder to stuff it back. But that's exactly what they did.
In the end, the Germans unconditionally fell for it and began gathering military forces in Greece. The army remained in Sicily, of course, but not enough to repel an attack by Allied forces. When the British were finally convinced that the plan worked, on July 9, Operation Husky began, landing on Sicily. The Germans thought that the Allied landing on the island was just a distraction, and the main blow would still be in Greece. But it was not without a fight. The Allied forces lost more than 20,000 lives. Some historians argue that thanks to mincemeat, at least 40,000 soldiers were saved. The losses on the German and Italian sides remain unknown. The numbers range from 20,000 to almost 100,000. Operation Mincemeat was a real breakthrough in World War II. The capture of Sicily allowed a pathway to solidify forces in region. The world, including the Germans, didn't learn about the William Bill Martin affair for a long time. Only in 1953, one of the leaders of the operation, Ewan Montagu, wrote the book, The Man Who Never Was. And later a film was made based on it.